Hello, hello, Chris here with another episode of the Make It Podcast, and this is an Indie Talk Week, and that means I have my good friend and my co-founder, Nicholas Buggs, here with me on this podcast. Good friend, great friend, bad friend.
Bad friend? You offered that as an option?
I'm always
Dude,
saying, well, I'm
come
just
on,
thinking
man.
because I always say good
You're
friend,
throwing
and
stuff
good
off,
friend,
yeah.
does it really describe us? Are you your great friend?
See, there you go. I think you should do that.
Brother friend?
Great friend. Hey, brother friend. I like that. That sounds
brother from another mother, chocolate stud friend.
You're right. That sounds like something you would say in church.
That was kind of,
Not the chocolate stud thing. I'm talking about
okay.
people like
that was a little burnt sienna.
Yeah, no. let me introduce you to my brother friend. You know what I'm saying? Come on, Hey, brother friend, would you sit down here in front? Welcome, brother friend.
Yeah.
Come worship with me today, brother friend.
Brother friend. I'm so
That's
glad.
right.
I'm so happy to be here back with you. And there's so much going on in the world of film and television.
Always.
I'm going to start mentioning television, even though I'll warn this audience. I've done no TV. I've never been a showrunner, never written a teleplay. I had a lot of ideas for one. Just haven't done it, but I do know people who've done it. Obviously, we brought those guests on, but I have to mention it because it feels like right now some of the best content is going to TV, and TV is an interesting conversation to have, especially around like what you're watching now. One of the things that I should just mention, and we called this before the strike, or like right at like week one of the strike last year, is like, well, get ready. You're going to have sort of a deluge of content coming out of this because no one has stopped working. And that has been the case.
They haven't stopped thinking. They haven't stopped writing. They haven't stopped creating. Yep.
I mean, you talk to anybody and they're watching something different. And you're like, well, okay, well, what is that one? So my latest one is the 3 Body Project on Netflix, which has been great. But that came right after Guy Ritchie's thing on Netflix as well. And then before that, it was Mr. and Mr. Smith on Amazon. And there's so many new shows on Max right now. Like The Regime is worth your time. And they have, I think what's called Tokyo Vice maybe on there. They've just got, there's just so many things to watch. You can't be, you can't possibly watch it all. I had seen this video with, I think his name is, he's like a very popular YouTuber. It's an Indian dude that's English. I'm forgetting his name. So it's like Mr. I'll find out. Hopefully put it in the show notes. Not Mr. Beast, by the way, obviously.
Of course not.
But this is another Mr. But he's an Indian dude in England. And he was tabulating all of his streaming. Because he was like me. He's like, he just didn't know. And he was paying almost $1,200 a month in various streaming subscriptions and app subscriptions. And I feel like I'm in that world too. I feel like I have at least $500 worth, and I got rid of cable so that I could pay less. But really, the little one-off things like, okay, I need to get Peacock because I want to watch Chelsea get beat down by Arsenal. Like I need to like do that. I want to, and I like watching Dan Patrick. So I need to watch that on Peacock. Okay, let me get Paramount Plus so I can watch The Challenge. That's like a guilty pleasure for me. That's like my Kardashians. Okay, let me watch Max because I'm not going to miss the season finale of Curb Your Enthusiasm. I need to watch John Oliver. Let me go ahead and get that Showtime so I can finish watching The Chi, or like whatever's like. So it starts to absolutely snowball. So anyway, all that to be said, got to mention TV. Along with film, because I think all the creatives go in there.
Yeah. Before you move on from that, I want to share my thought on that. So
yeah, please.
We're in this deluge, right? There's just so much stuff, and I feel like it's hurting us because it makes it difficult for us to engage around content. What I mean by that is that like you're watching A, B, and C, but I'm watching 1, 2, and 3 because there's just so much
on
stuff.
A, B, and C.
There you go. I like what you did there. So it's like there's so much stuff that it's harder for us to have a conversation, right? You're like, oh, The Shy was this. Which one would you cancel out all right now? Well, there you go. Well, my kids watch that. So for me, it's like it's difficult. Like, what are you supposed to talk about? What are you watching? And then there's so much stuff that you start to bounce from one thing to the next. So you might be on, let's say, The Shy, and you might be like, okay, I'm gonna watch The Shy. I'm gonna watch every episode. I'm gonna stick with it. But then you got a lot of people who are just like, oh, watch like episode 1, and then you go to the next show and watch episodes 1 and 2, and then you hear from your friend, hey, you got to go watch this other thing, and you start watching that, and there's just this chopped up experience that
absolutely
isn't about, I don't know, the storytelling. It's not about the characters. It's not about really you having this, what do they call it, the parasocial relationship with these characters. It's just like content. Your whole point is to be entertained in the moment, not to really experience this and experience it with other people like we used to when, hey, man, there's only 5 things out at a given time. So everybody in the world was watching those 5 things and all the conversation was about those 5 things. So, I think there's just so much that it gets hard to have a legit conversation about any one piece of content.
Seinfeld mentioned something about that this week. I talked to you about that. This idea of like not getting around the water cooler anymore to talk about the film we all saw. But before I say that, I will say that we have said many times on this podcast that innovation is simply bundling and unbundling. So the bundling and unbundling of things tends to be what gets called innovation, right? In entertainment. And right now we're in that purgatory space where you're going to see M&A. So what happens between bundling and unbundling,
mergers and
acquisitions. So between unbundling and bundling is mergers and acquisitions. That's where we're at right now. We're going to see a lot of that activity in the next, say, 12 to 36 months. Once that happens, then it won't make sense. Well, that's a type of bundling. Right. But it might not make sense to keep everything separate on separate apps when I own, let's say I'm a company and I own all those apps. I might just put them on one thing the way Max has done. Basically, Max has said, look, we own all these studios. We own all this content. Let's just throw it on one thing and let's do a bunch of stuff really well. And on Max, and as much as we've talked about it in the past and we're suspicious of it, and many people still want to call it HBO, and that's fine. But you can watch basketball, soccer, a variety of sports, actually. You can watch sitcoms and cartoons and movies and, dramas, and it's all in one spot. And that's just a type of bundling. And I think once people get, there's a line. I really don't know what the line is of sort of negative externalities on top of cost. But when that benchmark is reached, that's when people will start to churn and they will then, corporations will then rush to bundle in earnest and to bring those people back. Because that's just, that's the nature of it, because people cannot pay $1,000 a month for entertainment. They just can't, but it is a great time sort of to be in the business we're in. I'll have to say, ads aren't going anywhere. Ads are still going to be super important, if not more important, and certainly being able to create content that's original and authentic, and us just being ourselves. There's no 2 people on the planet like me and you, frankly, and the ability to be ourselves is what people want, and they see through the bullshit, which hopefully we'll talk about later in this conversation, just around AI and just all the sort of different machinations of fake that are out there, and people grow tired of it. They want to know for sure. There are certain tests they're looking for you to pass in order to be seen as authentic. And at least there's faith there, that they're listening to something that's coming from another human perspective. Because I think humans are pretty unique.
And I think authentic also means like, because you mentioned like the fake part of it, which some people can think about, like you said, AI or things that are digital. But fake can also be placating, or I wouldn't say placating. I would say it would be giving into maybe social pressures or certain communities in ways that don't seem natural to the individual creator or don't seem to honor the story, which I think we've seen that. Well, I know I've seen that a lot, and Disney's getting a lot of heat for that as well, because they're moving in a certain direction. I think a certain,
you just tell the story.
A lot of people say so leftist, right? Where the point that there's an extreme to it where it's not about inclusion anymore. It's really about like, let's overrepresent some communities, and in doing so, you underrepresent others. And it seems
the
contrived.
intentionality there seems to be, or the intention seems to be good.
Yeah, it is.
That's communism.
Yeah. Right. But I think
it looks great on paper, and then in action, you still have to deal with the human beings in the room that have emotions, that are selfish. That it's it's not a great way, to do things. Now, the fake I'm talking about specifically was in film, where there does come a point where people no longer value when that superhero punches that other superhero, because it's so almost digitally preposterous in a way. Now, there's fun to be had in that. I think the last Superman that came out, not animated, but the one before that, that was the last one. That one felt like it was right on the line of, there's too much happening here that, like, I know it's fake. So when everything is fake, we bore that, we plateau of that. That's all. I did come up with a razor about this, though. Not exactly about this, but I have a new rule of thumb razor. I call it the influencer razor. So check this out. You tell me if this jobs with you. Influencer razor. You ready? The influencer razor is this: the less you know, or we know about an influencer, the more influential they can be. So I'll give you an example. I know a few social media influencers. One's been on the podcast, Elizabeth Donaldson. I don't know which episode that is. Maybe producer Jada can find that and throw it up in the chat or something like that. But she's been on. I know her. I've been around her. So when she presents something online to me, I'm less influenced by it. Like, I know her, like, I know enough about her, I should say. It's not like I'm her family, but I'm saying like, and it's not that I don't want it. Like, I'm cheer for her. I root for her. I like all her stuff. Right. I follow her. I big her up. I retweet. I do all the stuff. I'm saying that I know where she lives. I know her neighborhood. I've seen her without makeup on, like all this. Like, I know the real person and who she really is. And so when she promotes something product wise to me, I'm not as likely to consume it as I would be Tim Ferriss, for example, who's an incredible podcaster and author. But because I don't really know his daily life, I've built up a story about him in my head that says, oh, he tried that out. He liked it. I'm guaranteed to like it.
Parasocial. So
yeah.
I hear you. So I think that some of that comes with the fact that many influencers are their personas. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what they're selling. So they're selling through the persona. They're not selling as themselves.
Yeah.
So so I'm with you, where if you know too much or you know just enough, then you might actually start to see through the persona. And then you start to question whether or not that thing that they're selling or that they're saying is because the real person wants you to have it, get it, buy it, watch it, listen to it, or it's the persona that's selling it to you. Right. Because as an influencer, it's a job.
Yeah.
Right. So you have a job to do.
She's good at it.
Yeah, exactly. So you have a job to do, but that's not necessarily, that's not necessarily what that human would say to you outside of the influencer environment. So I hear you. I mean, I think it makes sense to me. Again, it's
I think as an influencer, if you want to be an influencer, it's really important to keep your audience at a distance. If you're like strictly an influencer, if you're like, meaning like you don't have a podcast or a YouTube channel.
Well, I guess it depends, right?
And maybe both.
What do you mean by
maybe
keeping
both,
them at a distance?
But like if people can just sort of see pictures of supermodels, then there's a mystery that they're able to build. It's the same concept as reading a book and then going to see the movie and not being satisfied with the movie because the characters don't look like the characters that were in your head.
Right. I mean, what I'm saying, I don't want to see that shit.
That's not my.
Right.
That's not my.
You keep the distance from. You keep the distance. Right. But you keep the distance from the real person. So I think that what they do is, and this is, I think, to your point, really is the influencers can bring them in.
Yeah.
They can bring them real close. They can chat. They can do all the things, but they have to do it in that persona.
Yeah.
As soon as they break from that, and now you're getting the real person. Now it changes your, like I said, that vision that you have. It changes your perception and it changes your, I don't know, potential desire to buy from them or whatever.
Yeah, it reminds me
of the role.
There's probably a more recent
character.
Yeah, there's got to be a more recent example of what you just said. But Charles Barkley did this in the 90s, where he said, "I'm not your role model," and it broke persona because he had he had marketing and sort of an image of being a likable, funny guy, bubbly guy. And it didn't jive with the Charles Barkley that threw a guy through a plate glass window at a bar, right? It didn't jive with the Charles Barkley who spit on a fan when he said something crazy to him. It doesn't jive with the Charles Barkley who was getting in trouble or, he was as close as 10 years ago, he got stopped for trying to solicit a prostitute, but the cop let him go because he's funny. He was both things. Because I think when he got stopped, the story was he got stopped and said, "Do you know what she was about to do to me?" And the cop couldn't help but laugh. like I'm not trying to get away with anything. I'm not dangerous. I'm Charles Barkley and I have money and here's this person.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it's interesting, but he's the one. There's got to be like I said, a more recent example of that. But we do, as the consumer of that influence, get shocked when someone breaks persona. Yeah, and then we have to decide: do we want to do we want to know the person? Do we like the persona? Do we want them to just speak as their authentic self going forward? Or be the persona
some of them can flip
forward.
it. Yeah, some of them can flip it and make it great. Now, one of them I would say is, and this, it might hit, it might not, but I think about Alicia Keys. Mm-hmm. So Alicia Keys, super talented, super pretty, always done up, all her stuff is just perfect, and everybody's like, oh my gosh. And then Alicia Keys says, I'm not wearing makeup. Yeah. I'm not doing that anymore. Yeah. And she could do that. Yeah. Right. I mean, she could do that. I mean, not only is she just naturally pretty, but you can tell the difference, obviously, but she's able to flip that persona into something else entirely because she built up at a minimum, like a campaign behind it, right? Yeah. Why she's doing, it's not that she got caught without makeup. No, she's like, no, I'm doing this for a reason. And then everybody went along with it. So she was able to switch it up because there was something there and people went with her. Yeah, so,
she had the talent, and also she set an expectation, right? Which is kind of a great lesson for filmmakers and creators as well. But she set an expectation with her audience, which is different than, let's say, Mike Tyson. The first time we heard him speak, there was no expectation set. So here we see this very, very dangerous looking guy who beat people up in seconds, and then he has this really high pitched voice, and you're like,
"Oh, it was great." It was perfect.
Now that I didn't expect, and then all of a sudden you have to figure out what are you going to do with that.
Anyway, and then take it to the extreme. When he bit Holyfield's ears, nobody expected that, right? But nobody expected it.
But that wasn't a persona shift because because he'd already been to jail for rape.
I know, but that was a persona
we knew
change
he's an aggressive guy.
I know, but you're in the ring, right? You're in this the squared circle, if you will, right? And you're not supposed to do stuff like that. And he played by the rules. So when he did that, it was a game like I don't know. Well, you're a dog, man. Like that.
Well, he was frustrated because he couldn't outbox Evander. Evander.
Well, and
people look at Tyson as this big bad guy, but if you look at Evander Holyfield and some of the contemporaries in heavyweight boxing, which really doesn't even exist anymore outside of Klitschko and a few others, like they were some serious freaking boxers, man, and they were large
and athletes. And look at Holyfield. Nobody looked as swole. No one is as swole as Holyfield. And I will say that I think this is the other talk track around that fight is that I don't think it was intentional, but Holyfield kept headbutting him, and he was so pissed about it.
No, boxers
like he was so.
So I think it was intentional.
It just happens. It just happens, though. What I'm saying is like a part of it, and he was so pissed off.
I think Evander was doing that on purpose, man. I think he was getting him under his skin. You can control it, man. Boxers are one athlete that are in control of their body.
Yeah, but remember your boy Mike.
He knew he could outbox Mike. He knew he had reach on Mike. He had weight on Mike. He had height on Mike. And so for him, it was just about surviving his flurry, right? Like Mike exactly. is like a kid throwing a tantrum in the ring, where it's all at 11, right? Yeah. Like it's at 11, but it's at 11 for 60 seconds because you just can't keep it up.
Yep.
Right. Like the kid's going to fall on the ground because he can't get the toy, scream and kick his legs. And then if you can just hold out for 60 to 120 seconds of embarrassment.
I'm telling Mike, you called him a kid. You're like a kid. Yeah, that's it. No. I marked the clip, bro. It's Chris Barkley calling out Mike Tyson. I'm saying Chris said, Mike, I'm talking to Mike right now. He said, you fight like a kid throwing a tantrum.
I think that's
out there.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think he would agree with me. I think he'd agree with the metaphor, man. He's like
he's like, damn right.
He's like, he's all in your face and energy. And if you could withstand that, then you could box with him is the point. And
this is true.
And nobody came out with as much fire when that bell rang than Mike Tyson. And Evander Holyfield knew that. And, he got Tyson frustrated. He did something really unsportsmanlike. But I watched that fight live as the point. And I did not think that was a persona shift for Mike Tyson. I just thought that was like if anybody was going to, matter of fact, I'll go this far. If anybody was going to bite somebody's ear,
it was Mike Tyson.
It was going to be Mike Tyson. He wasn't going to, it wasn't going to be Oscar De La Hoya. You know what I mean? Like who else is going to bite somebody's ear in the ring but Mike Tyson?
It's funny about that.
It definitely wasn't a persona shift.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. All right, so let's talk about this Seinfeld stuff, bro. Hit me with that. I know you got something. We'll go there.
We'll go back because otherwise you're going to go on a tangent about Oscar De La Hoya.
Exactly. You saw me. I was like, nope, got to reel myself in, bro. I could go there, but I'm not going to go there.
Okay. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah,
all right, hit me up. Seinfeld.
He's an interesting dude. So Seinfeld I love, by the way.
I know you do.
Talk about, he hasn't really done a persona shift. There's just the character he played on the sitcom and then the guy he really is. But he's so famous that we saw a lot of the guy he really is. And so we're not surprised when, Kesha goes in for a hug and he rebuffs because that is the character he played on the show. But the real version of him, which is slightly meaner and more real than the Seinfeld character, which is almost, when you look at Seinfeld in retrospect, you realize they're just telling a story about adults who are still children up here.
I mean,
they have they've kept their childlike hopes and ambitions, and it helps make things funny, right? Even down to the fact, if you go back, guys, watching this, listening to this, go back and watch the Seinfeld episode, where in the episode you get to see George's bedroom. His whole bedroom is baseball sheets and comforters, baseball caricature pillowcases. He's got Met stuff on the wall. It is literally a boy's bedroom. And he's like a mid-30s man on Seinfeld. And it's like, oh my God. Like I recently just noticed that. Like, oh, George is literally a man-child. He's a boy. He's not have adult like fixings in
we
his
know
own
that,
room.
yeah, we know that through his actions, and you're saying they double down
Yeah.
through everything that's in his room, right? Everything that's in his
Yeah,
life.
but
Yeah,
you could, but if you're not paying attention to that stuff, you're like, because George looks, he's, you know, Jason Alexander, incredible actor, incredible performer, incredible singer. Actually, he's bald and he wears glasses, and they put him in a lot of cardigans and dark colored button ups, and so he's very adult in his appearance, but in his behavior, talk, and even in the life they create around him, he's basically a child, and it's fascinating. So anyway, Jerry this week came out and said movies are dead, as he within the same or it's over within the same breath that he's promoting his new Pop-Tart movie, and I cannot wait to watch that. And as a Seinfeld fan, I know he's obsessed with cereal, but I think a lot of people saw that on social media, especially the clip that was sort of pulled from Variety. It was a GQ article, but they pulled that quote into Variety, and then just that quote hit social, and it was sort of out of context, to be fair to Jerry. And people kind of in the film world and in my film circles were like, the hell does he know? Like, just like make your movie, and like how are you going to promote your movie and say this is like hypocrisy or whatever. What he's really saying in the article, so I just want to contextualize this for people who didn't know, because this is conversation worthy. He's not saying movies are over because of AI, and he's not saying movies are over because the theaters have some failing that can't be overcome, because in the quote, and I need the exact quote in front of me, but in the quote, he mentions everyone used to go to the theater when something was good. Mm-hmm. They would tell someone else it was good. They would all go to the theater, and we'd talk about it like sort of water cooler talk. And that was the movie, the theater experience. And so his critique isn't that theaters are doing something wrong, or AI, or that studios are doing something wrong. His critique is that the audience is lost, and therefore movie makers are lost, because they're trying to figure out, what do we do? How do we get this audience we used to have? How do we get this attention back that we used to have? And, you know, Jerry, to me, having read a lot of his stuff and consumed a lot of his material, he's kindly saying that we're stupid now. Like we're dumb. We do dumb things. We're bifurcated. We are attention starved, both for attention, and we give our attention away easily. And people don't, people don't know what to do with the time. I think, okay, here's the exact quote. Thank you, producer Jadish. The exact quote is, "Film doesn't occupy the pinnacle in the social, cultural hierarchy that it did for most of our lives. When a movie came out, if it was good, we all went to see it. We all discussed it. We quoted lines and scenes we liked. Now we're walking through a fire hose of water just trying to see." And I like the visual of that. Like, what he's saying is that fire hose is social media, it's streaming apps, it's everything. It's everything that pulls at our attention all the time that we just can't get away from, because basically creation of content has been highly, highly democratized and continues to get even more democratized. And we're the mark. And, you know, we'll always take the cheap dopamine hit over sort of a tempered approach to, you know, to our content and curation of our content, right? Like, well, we're always the kid that eats the marshmallow right now instead of waiting to get 2 marshmallows later. And films is a 2 marshmallows later deal.
I see it. Yeah, I see it as like, so yeah, I'm with him on the fire hose thing. I think it's just basically the idea is there's just so much coming at you.
Yeah.
Right. But I kind of see it like almost like a little bit differently. We could take it back to like the rom-coms, right? I think there's one movie now they're talking about, I don't even know the name of it. They're like, yeah, it might be bringing back the rom-com. Rom-com is like on life support right now.
Is Katherine Heigl
and basically, right, she should be. Mm-hmm. So what basically, if you take the rom-com, you know, who went to a rom-com? It was couples went to rom-coms.
Mm-hmm.
That was the idea. So if you take that as the example for me, the way I see it is that you've taken that couple and you've got, let's say, Max pulling one part of the couple in one direction, and then you've got Disney Plus or Netflix pulling the other part of the couple in the other direction. Mm-hmm. So now they're not walking together.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening with the movies, is that everyone is so pulled in all of these different directions. They're not going to that singular movie anymore and talking about it together. So now you take that and look at a community of people, right? A community of people used to all go to the theater, and everybody talked about that movie outside of the theater afterwards. You could hear people talking about it. Now there's so much stuff. Even when you go to the theater, you got half the people are at home because they're not coming, right? So they're talking about their own stuff. People in the theaters are all going to see different things. And you don't get that swell of conversation that we used to have about individual pieces of content. And I think that's the challenge. That's the part, the issue that I think the movie experience is having. Mm-hmm. The movie industry is alive and it's well and it's producing things. And Seinfeld himself is producing in a movie. But it's like, but that's it. I feel it too. And it sucks. It's like you just don't have that engagement around films anymore. I mean, I even went to see a movie, this past week, and it was weird. I mean, I know it was late, but it was weird to be like
Monkey Man.
Yeah, I want to see Monkey Man, and it was just.
I had an early screening to Monkey Man.
Yeah, and I know it's not top of mind for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Monkey Man isn't necessarily top of mind for people, but I just tell you, there were only 4 other people in the theater.
Whoa!
And 2 of them left early. So.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it ended up being just, the 2 of us and the 2 of them. And
now, is this a movie problem or is this a Maryland problem? That's the question.
Well, I don't know. It's hard for me to tell. Is it even a theater problem? I mean, the theater I went to is one of the higher end theaters, where we there's a lot of foot traffic. There's a lot of stuff in there, but it's also depends on which. I went on a Monday. I think it
not
was
the bourgeois,
right?
not the bourgeois theater.
Exactly.
The upper crust.
Exactly.
The upper crust of
we have different theaters near
Maryland. Go here.
So I think that also
where's my napkin,
the
sir?
The day that it was on, it was also a factor. It wasn't
my anus, sir.
What is even happening right now?
No, I'm kidding. No. So 2 people left. So it was you and some other. Did you go by yourself?
No, I went with my daughter.
Okay.
And then there were 2 other people who were there. So anyway, but that's just getting back to it. I think that's the challenge that Seinfeld is talking about, is just there's so much stuff that we're not having those conversations, and it just doesn't feel the same anymore.
Was the movie bad?
Quoting lines. Because now we're getting to a conversation because I want to know about the movie,
because there could be word of mouth. Could be.
Well, I think that's
what's the Metacritic review on this?
So that's a factor here. And if you want me to go there, I'll go there. Okay. I had planned on maybe talking about it. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Wait,
I'm here for you.
I'm not here for you, but are we done with the Seinfeld thing? Did we put a little cap on that? Did we feel good?
If you had a point to make that's related to Monkey Man, please let's hear. Let's continue on that point.
All right, let's drop the Monkey Man. So it was really interesting.
The Monkey Man tie-in.
It was a really good experience because I went with my daughter. Right, like it was great. Like it doesn't matter what we see. It's just awesome. Right. But we had a lot of conversation about that movie, and I won't get into it because it's like a personal critique about different aspects of the film and the storytelling and even the violence. There's just a lot of stuff. Like we talked for a good hour and a half about issues we had with the film.
Okay,
but I want to get back.
Do you want to contextualize the age of your daughter so that people don't think that you're a bad parent?
I took my 7-year-old. Now she's 22.
Okay,
so here's the thing. Okay. Earlier we talked about fake, right? And then also like the audience's perception of fake. So this isn't, necessarily a spoiler or anything that's been out in the news. Dev Patel has talked about it, but there's a theme in the film about underrepresented communities. And one of those communities that he represents in this film is the trans community. Sure. And he has his own reasons for doing that. That's fine. That's on him, right? Mm-hmm. It's his film. But for me, and actually for my daughter, it felt fake. It didn't seem like it fit with the story, right? It was like we were literally like, well, why are they trans, right? Why did they pick
it's like
this
when you find out
specific group,
like no, like China's like really positively viewed in a movie, like what's going on, and then you realize, oh, China funded it.
right? So exactly. So, but that's the
So
type
I
of
wonder
stuff we just
who
wanted to
funded
know, and that's our thing, because that's where we came at it. We're like, there had to have been a reason that we don't know about, that this specific community was represented in this movie, when it didn't seem like this fit this story at all. Right. It was so odd, like the whole thing. So that was the issue with it for us, is like it took the movie in a different direction, where now we're trying to figure it out. Like, I'm not watching it just to watch it, enjoy it. I'm like, what is that? And you're waiting for something to happen to explain why this group of people was in the movie and why they played this part. So you're waiting for it to happen. It never happens. Like, there's no explanation as to why this specific group. So you're like, when you and I are talking to filmmakers about scenes in movies, and you're like, look, if you don't need this, cut it out. Like, if you can cut this out and it doesn't change the movie, cut it out.
Yeah.
Right. You don't need that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, they didn't need that to make, they already had an underrepresented community that was core, that was central to the movie itself, that they could have used. So adding that made no sense to me. Yeah. And so same thing for my daughter. We're like, so it felt fake. It felt contrived, and it affected our view of the movie. Again, lots of different storytelling things in there that we were just like, really? I mean, at one point, I think I actually said that in the movie. I was like I said, for real? Like, you were like, really? They did. It didn't make any sense. So anyway, but it was a good experience for us. We enjoyed watching it, but at the end of it, like I said, it was legit an hour and a half talking about things that we didn't agree with, either stylistically, storytelling wise, that just didn't work for us.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up that theme, and I do want to see Monkey Man. I do like Dev Patel. I'm curious why the two of you chose that movie out of all the other movies to watch. But
I have to ask her. She asked me. She was like, "Dad, I want to see it." I was like, "Okay."
Well, like I've been trying to reconcile some of these things in my mind for a long time, and putting sort of blinders onto the hyperbolic stuff that you see online and on social media in terms of sort of trans themed things. And, since we've had Alex Schmitter on a year or so ago,
he's coming on again.
Shout out to Alex Schmitter. I've been trying to reconcile what he had told me on that interview versus what we see out in social media and in movies. Though there's a giant divide between those two things. And I've been trying to bridge that for a long time. And it's really hard to bridge. And just to clue the audience in on that, basically Alex Schmitter, who's a trans man, was saying, all I want to do is be a man. That's all. Mm-hmm. So outside of that, I don't need anything else. Like, I don't I just want to allow me to be in the body that feels comfortable to me. And then I want to go and live out my existence as a man. That's it. That's what I want to do. And so there are all these other sort of layers and machinations within that culture that don't align with that simple desire that I can completely jive with.
Right. Yeah.
And, maybe we can talk about that when he comes back on, but
definitely.
We're going to talk about it. It's just interesting that at all costs, we need to put this in to sort of, even if it doesn't make sense in the story, and you're great at dissecting story, like much better at it, in my mind than me, because I watch a movie first emotionally to see if it hits me in the heartstrings and in my mind first, before I look at sort of, hey, did that logically, did 2 + 2 = 4 there? And so, I trust your critique story wise on this. If it doesn't seem like it seems forced, it seems like it's made up. Like it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to. I don't understand necessarily like why you would risk the profitability and the long-term viability, meaning the multiple exhibition windows over the fullness of time.
Yeah, it's the goal. What's the goal of the film?
This thing that messes the story up.
Because we don't know the goal. Like, and we don't know what the goal of that film was. And I hate to ever, I hate to ever say that one of these films is like a throwaway in any way. Mm-hmm. But I think that there's certain levels of the game where they can be. Like, we did that thing and we got paid from this group and this group and this group to do it. It went to the theater, it did its thing. If it did well or not, we're moving on to the next thing anyway. And it's hard to, it's hard to ever say that, like,
because this was Dev Patel's debut as a director,
and it's from Monkey Paw. I know, I hear you, but like, that's where my brain goes when stuff like this happens. And you know why my brain goes there? Because I believe that I'm a smart guy. But I'm not Dev Patel, and I'm not the people who are around him have been doing this for longer than I have and have connections and understandings that I don't have. So when something like that happens, that seems so crazy to me, right? I'm like, you should know better. Mm-hmm. Part of me thinks that they do know better. And it's like, well, we did this for this reason.
Yeah.
And that reason was satisfied. So anything else and everything else doesn't matter. So whatever that reason was, I'm just not clued into it yet. Right. So that's why I give it to him. I'm like, I'm not telling anybody else that it's not a good movie.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying that there's just things that I didn't like about it that I talked to my daughter for an hour and a half about, because she and I both kind of were going back and forth. We cut it apart in our own way. Yeah. So I told her, I was like, I've gotten to this place where my grading scale on movies is basic. It's really simple. Because I don't want to get into stuff like, well, was the lighting good and was the sound good? And how about the cinematography? I'm like, no, two things. Mm-hmm. Would I recommend it? Would I not?
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
For me, would I recommend this movie?
No. Marie Kondo, or whatever her name is, Kondo. Yeah, what's her name? Marie.
No, that sounds like.
What's her name? She does the organ. She's like the organization.
She's the organization. That's I think her name.
She
is Kondo.
Has a simple rule. Either you love the item or you don't.
Or you don't.
If it's don't, get rid of it. And if it's love, you keep it. And that keeps your house kind of decluttered. And man, I'm going through that right now, cleaning out my mother-in-law's house. Love her. Love it or list it. She's kept a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff she doesn't love over the years.
Yeah, I know, but
and when
you have memories attached to them.
Yeah, but maybe. Not.
Well, I didn't say love.
I mean,
I just said memory.
Some of this stuff is like, some of this stuff is just old boxes of like manila folders. Like, what memory? But, but it's just,
no,
like
some things also have future usefulness, bro. You never know when you're going to use those folders.
Guess,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe you'll use manila folders to save some young child.
That's right.
But this happens to us in entertainment too. We get a cluttered mind. We don't have that clean space because we don't have a simple rule like this. Do I recommend this or do I not? And my thing is, I think there is sort of a space to get into the minutia of a film, but only when you would recommend it. So I think your rule is at the top, or maybe at the bottom of the pyramid. Like if we want to take it from a Maslow's perspective, right? Like first things first, basic. Recommend or not recommend.
Yeah.
Okay. If I recommend, let's talk about the details of why I recommend it. And this is all sort of goes into sort of what it takes to polish and develop your good taste. If you just describe a movie as I just liked it, then that's a very childish sort of like, that's what your 10-year-old says to you, or 10-year-old might say. Shout out to 10-year-olds.
Like you think they're stupid.
They are, but they also know what they like. They know they like the candy bar. They can't tell you that it's creamy and that it's got the perfect balance of milk and sugar, and they can't tell you anything like that. But because they just don't know, they don't have that. They're unpolished. They haven't developed their taste yet, but they know what they like, and they're very honest about what they like. They always say kids will say the darndest things because they just blurt it out. They just say the honest facts, and they don't know to sugarcoat it and have the decorum or whatever, and that's part of the dumbness, right? But but at least you get the honesty, right? And the simple answer. But I think as art, when we're talking about art, the simple answer isn't satisfactory, and it doesn't suffice. And if you're giving notes, it certainly doesn't help.
That's a whole other thing.
Especially if it hasn't been released or it's in post. People need to know exactly what to do to improve it and exactly why. And then what is your basis for that? And then even if you have examples of where that's proven to be smart in other films or in other contexts, that's really good to know too. So anyway.
Yeah. And so I'm simple on that one on Monkey Paw Productions. I think they're, visually they're doing some things. I think Dev Patel's character, he's good at, basically there's one thread.
He's a dope actor, man.
Yeah, but in this one, you only see one side of him almost throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
And he's good at that one side, but that's something that I also thought was a little bit of a drawback for me, is that I don't get to see another side, which again was part of the story of the film that I feel like I should have seen, but regardless. Anyway, that was Monkey Man.
Marie Kondo, by the way. Shout out to Marie Kondo.
Marie. There you go.
She's the Japanese professional organizer and consultant. It's like
when you watch her on TV, it's a fun watch. I'll say that. It's a fun watch.
She found the bluest of oceans.
Yeah, making piles of clothes.
How great
people.
I mean, just think about this, man. The world is a great place, man. For anybody that's down out there listening to this, let me just tell you, tomorrow's worth it. Because your imagination, I was thinking about this today. Because the NFL draft, we're recording this on 4/24, April 24th, Wednesday. So the draft is tomorrow, NFL draft. There is a job called quarterback, and it consumes millions of people's attention every year at this time. And we just made that shit up. We made it. We made a game. Yeah, it is. That's why I love that. What's that Fiona Apple line? He said it's all in my head, and I said everything is, isn't it? So this idea that you can make a very, 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 very handsome living being this thing we invented called a quarterback, which is a position in a game that we just created basically to keep rambunctious boys from tackling nuns in Catholic school at the turn of the 20th century. Like, what are we going to do with all these rambunctious boys? Line them up and have them hit each other.
Run them into each other.
Run them into each other.
And then they came out with the ball 50 years later.
Yeah, the ball came later. The ball,
right?
Literally, the face masks and helmets came much later. So
it did.
So it's like Marie Kondo, man. I'm gonna be a professional organizer. I'm just gonna organize your shit.
That's right.
A job.
No.
Literally, all of us are qualified for.
No. The best part about she does a lot.
And now she's so good at it. She's good at
what she does. But it's like she's a professional thrower awayer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna throw your stuff out. That's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna have fun. I'm gonna make you feel good about getting rid of this stuff.
It's great. Create a category of one. Isn't that like the Peter Thiel? Isn't that the Peter Thiel thing where he said, "Create a new category and be the first to it"?
Yeah, first to it. Yeah.
Yeah, just create a job and then just go take it real seriously. Don't let anybody make a joke about it. You don't make any. Nobody can joke about it. Nobody. It's not a joke. I'm really doing this.
Oh, hey, I got it. I got it right now.
Paper airplane maker.
No. Off the top.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I got to figure out the title for it.
Muffin top curator.
No. You come out with a title for this.
Okay.
All right. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Or producer Jada put it in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you know how you could be at a restaurant with a bunch of your friends.
Yeah.
And you're eating.
Assuming you have friends. Yes.
And assuming you have friends, right? Or maybe you're on a date. Mm-hmm. Who knows what it is? You could be at a business luncheon. It just doesn't matter. You're out with people. You're out. So you're out with people. And you got a booger right here.
Yeah, you got a boogie. You got one.
Nobody is going to say anything.
I had an ex-girlfriend that used to say, "You have a Joe home."
Nobody says anything. They just let you walk around with that booger sitting right there in your nose.
Those are bad people.
They are, but there's so many of them are bad. I want to be the guy. Right? So it's a subscription service, right? You pay.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So when you're out doing your thing, I just, me and my team will be in the vicinity, right? Man, you got stuff in your teeth. We got you, bro. Like, we got you. You got a booger in your nose.
Yeah.
We got you. You got them draws stuck to the back of your thing because you got that static cling. Man,
you're about to do like a discreet pull, like the discreet pull.
I just slip it right out, and I put it right, and I got you, bro, because I think people need that, and I'm the guy who'll do that.
You're gonna pull it out. I don't
know how many times I will take it. That's what I will pull it out of the team. The team will do what we got to do, bro.
The team,
because we're there for you, right? Subscription service. That's it. We're there for you. Whatever you need, we got you, because your friends ain't there for you. You know what I'm saying? That girl that you're dating, she's not there for you. Your coworkers aren't there for you.
Your so-called girlfriend.
Exactly. They will let you have that piece of spinach in your teeth. You know what I'm saying? While you're talking to everybody, and they won't, because they're just, what do I say? How do I say it? No. You got me. I got you, bro. That's what's going to be called.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than just killing it conversationally. And then saying, I got to run to the bathroom. I'll be right back. And then you go there and you're like, oh my God, those smiles were not for my conversation.
That's right.
They were the fact that this booger keeps going in and out as I breathe. You find that out, you don't even go back. There's only two reactions. You just leave. You just sneak out the back door and never come back. Or you go there and be like, hey, I had a booger in my nose the whole time. Why did you tell me?
The whole time.
Now,
exactly.
As I get older, I've become that guy. I'm much more of a curmudgeon than I used to be.
Yeah, but this messed up.
Because I just have more confidence now, and I just don't care anymore.
No, it's not just that. Because I'm just going to say what it is. You would do that for somebody.
I would.
Right?
I'd actually pick someone's nose for them.
Exactly. And that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Is that you would do it, and they wouldn't. That's why you get on.
Yeah. Well, okay.
I'm with you.
$59.99 a month.
Yeah,
month is steep. You'll never get that. I think. We'll
work it out. You just got to get the right team.
Yeah,
you got to get the right team.
You don't have enough boogers and wedgies to.
Well, I
justify
think
that expense. You got to do something else. Maybe you got to type an email or two for them too.
Maybe make a little reservation.
By the way,
kind of thing.
Speaking of fake, plateauing on fake BBLs.
Oh well,
BBLs. We're tired of them already.
Well. The thing
it started out with like we were amazed at first, right? We're like, "Oh my God, look at Kim Kardashian, she's BBL, look at that." And then,
if only one of them's doing it,
these BBLs.
No, but if only one of them's doing it and they're a star, then maybe it works. But the other problem with that is that people keep going overseas and dying. Like that's the other part. Like really, like it was that you wanted it that bad.
In the war of BBL.
Yeah, like they're going to get the surgery and they're dying, bro. They're dying on the table. Like it can't be that serious.
That's insane. How did Grandma die? Oh, she went overseas.
Yeah,
she was with a platoon, bro, of bad bitches, and
that's how they roll.
They all wanted BBLs, and
that's how they roll. All right, you ready? You ready for the thing that I got ready for you?
Yeah. You ready for that? Shout out to BBLs. That? Shout out to Mike Tyson fighting Logan Paul, by the way, coming up soon, whenever it gets scheduled. That's going to be the biggest fight in the world. We're all going to pay for it. Anyway, go ahead.
And I hope he goes in there like a petulant child, and
he's going to go in there and just he's going to do what he knows how to do, which is try to knock that fool out in the first round. And if he can't, because Logan Paul's a large guy and he knows how to box. He's not just a social media dude. He really knows how to box. He's a boxer
now. Yep. So we'll see.
If he makes it past 2 rounds, I might push my money in on.
Well, I mean, you'd have to.
Logan.
You'd have to.
I think it's Logan. I hope it's not Jake Paul, but it's one of the Pauls. I think it's Logan Paul. Yeah, and he's 55 or 60. Yeah, you're right.
Exactly. So, all right. This thing.
I still don't want to fight him.
This thing is.
I love you, Mike. Don't listen to what Nick said.
Nick's talking what shit. I said. That's right, 100%. Yeah. You'll get your ass whooped by an older Mike Tyson.
I fight dirty, Mike.
That's right. Go straight for your nuts. Anyway, so here's the deal. Is this thing that I got for you, I created just for you. Mm-hmm. And it's called First Feature Film. All right, got a little FFF going on in there. You like that? It's called alliteration for those who don't know. Exactly, because I was thinking about Mike Tyson. But for Mike Tyson to be... Why we started so with Mike Tyson? You gotta leave that man alone.
I love Mike. Shout out to Mike.
Right. All right. So I'm gonna give you. So we're creating this as we go. I created this.
Wait, say it again. What's the title?
It's first feature film.
First feature film. Okay, got it.
So I got a bunch of actors, that you're gonna know, and I want you to guess what their first feature film was.
New segment
so
alert.
First one, yeah, I'm gonna throw at you, and you let me know. So I'm thinking through this, right? I'm wondering if I need to throw it in the chat too, so you can see. Sometimes when you do, I'm gonna do multiple choice, right? So when you do multiple choice, sometimes it's good to see it. So maybe I throw it in the chat, so it's a little bit easier for you to see. That work for you?
That works for me.
Do that.
Should we
what?
Drum roll.
Oh, drum roll. Well, thank you very much. What a little bump. Yeah. All right. So what was Leonardo DiCaprio's first feature film? Was it A, Critters 3, B, This Boy's Life, C, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, or D, Titanic?
It's not What's Eating Gilbert Grape, because I believe the Basketball Diaries came before that. Certainly not Titanic. Titanic? It's certainly not pedantic.
Right.
It's certainly not a pedantic Titanic.
So, folks, he's knocked out What's Eating Gilbert Grape and Titanic.
Let's not be semantic.
Right. Which leaves This Boy's Life in Critters 3.
I'm quite enchanted.
Just go ahead and plant it.
Yeah. Well, all these questions are slanted. So I think that you have an advantage.
Right. All right, go. All right, Critters 3 or This Boy's Life? Hit me up. Which one?
I'm going with Critters 3, sir. Critters 3.
Okay. Well, you just happen to be right. All right, it's Critters 3. We got Leo DiCaprio. He and I are boys. That's why I get to call him Leo. You can't do that. You didn't hang out with him like I did. So
shout out to Leo DiCaprio. To you. Maybe my generation's best actor.
There you go. Maybe. So now here's the thing. And here's the thing, Chris, about this game. Like, I want to give you extra points, right? I want to work that too. Yeah. So what I want to do is I want to ask you what year it was released. But I'm going to give you a range. Let's go just to say which decade. Can you do that for me?
Well, Critters 3?
Yeah.
90s.
Boom. Critters was released in 1991.
Yep.
Look at you getting extra bonus points on that.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to tell you
to get more difficult.
Critters,
okay, you're going to tell me about
Critters 3. I'm going to tell you about it because I was thinking about having you give me a synopsis, but that might be a little extra.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think you could, but
this is what I was talking about earlier about having so much information in your head and having consumed so much. Like we watch, because we're jurors on film festivals, I probably consume 200 films a year. I recently had to put together my favorite films list for a couple of buddies. And the list started getting insane because things started coming to my mind. I'm like,
of course.
And it's not even exhaustive. I can't. So the punchline is this. I cannot tell you if I've even seen Critters 3. I'm sure I have. I can't remember. I couldn't have given you a synopsis.
Yeah, you probably have. So released in 1991, Critters 3 is a horror comedy film directed by Christine Peterson. In the film, Leonardo DiCaprio plays the character Josh, a young boy who encounters small carnivorous aliens known as critters. As the critters wreak havoc in a rundown apartment building, Josh must find a way to survive and protect himself and his family from the deadly creatures.
There you go.
Bum, bum, bum. I like that. All right. So now we're gonna roll. We're gonna roll to the next one. You did a great job.
Thank you.
I know you would.
Thank you, sir.
That's why I created this for you, my cinephile.
Thank you.
All right. Jennifer Lawrence.
J-Lo.
What was Jennifer Lawrence's first feature-length film. We are going with A. I'm mad at you. A. The Burning Plane.
Kidding.
B. Winter's Bone. C. X-Men First Class. Or D. The Hunger Games.
That, to me, it's going to be The Winter's Bone, and I watched that the first time, and I thought she was unbelievable. I just couldn't believe how raw and authentic and powerful she was in the role. Winter's Bone is a movie that somehow over time has become underrated. I'm going to go Winter's Bone.
Very good. The answer is A. The Burning Plane. All right, now I'm gonna let you get a point. Get a point back, bro. Get a point back. Right. What decade was The Burning Plane released?
2000s.
Okay,
it's when it was released.
You hit it on the nose, bro. What year?
2000.
What year was it? No. Yeah, you missed that one. But you're right. It is the 2000s. It was released in 2008. The Burning Plane is a drama directed by Guillermo Arriaga, released in 2008. Jennifer Lawrence portrays the character Mariana, the troubled daughter of Sylvia, played by Charlize Theron.
Love Charlize Theron.
The film explores themes of guilt, forgiveness, and redemption through interconnected storylines spanning different time periods and locations.
Never seen
Jennifer Lawrence. Yep, first feature film. Now I'm like,
I've never seen it. I'll check it out. I love Charlize.
Yeah, you got Charlize, bro. Like, come on now, The Burning Plane.
She's one of those. Right. She's one of those women you look at and say that's choice. That's choice white woman right there.
Class, bro. Class.
That's a Patrice O'Neill line, by the way.
Right? Yeah. He's like, you got a footnote.
That's prime. That's that's like life goals. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's why you see all the memes now. Well, you did a little while ago of Will Smith and Charlize. And it's like, yeah, this.
I haven't seen any Charlize Theron, Will Smith memes.
All right, are you ready for the next one? Yeah, we'll push the button, bro. Let's get it. Let's get it going. Let me hear that little drum roll. I like that.
Oh, you want a little drum roll?
Let's do it. Why not?
Do we have other like other
intro
like
stuff?
Little intro sounds? Maybe not. Like there's like a drum, like this drum roll. But that's not really the one we want. We want.
Nah, we hit it.
Yeah.
All right. Robert Downey Jr.'s first feature film. Was it A, Weird Science, B,
Weird
Tough
Science,
Turf, C, Pound, or D, Iron Man?
So shout out to, I'm doing a lot of shout outs this episode, but shout out to Robert Downey Jr. Who resurrected his career, had really good 100%. Friends in his corner, and we're all the beneficiary of that turnaround when he did Iron Man. Still to this day, one of my favorite movies of all time is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. If you haven't seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, you must go watch it now. They created like their own world in that movie, and I love movies that do that, where the characters, and I try to make movies like that, with our collaborators, Nick. Like, can we build a world that doesn't actually exist, but is close enough to the real world where it's relatable, but the characters talk in their own way and dress in their own way? Kiss Kiss Bang Bang does that in a fantastic way.
Nice.
Now, the first movie I think I saw him in was Weird Science, so I'm going to pick Weird Science.
All right.
But there were a few people. Sandra Bullock was in Weird Science. Man, somebody else, like, there's an obvious actor that I'm not thinking of that was in Weird Science. Like, Weird Science was a little ahead of his time. I like movies like that because, remember, just until recently, casting directors didn't get an award. When you see movies that are cast full of all these people who turn out to be huge stars later,
all of them are in the same movie. Like that's what's crazy.
It's like
they were
no, that
kids
casting
then.
director
How did you
had
know?
a freaking eye.
That's
for
right,
talent.
100%. Yep, you got it.
So shout out to that whoever cast
my
that.
friend.
Yeah,
spot on. All right, so we're gonna go with the answer now. It is not weird science, my friend. It is C.
Pound.
Mm-hmm. All right, so now you get to try to get that point back. You got the point back on the last one, so let's get the point back on this one.
Yeah.
So now, what decade?
Well, that's got to be the 80s.
All right, and the answer is 1970. Pound is a comedy drama film directed by Robert Downey Sr., released in 1970. Robert Downey Jr. appears in this film.
So he wasn't the star of it. I thought he had to be the star of it.
No, it was his first feature film.
First feature film. I thought he was the lead.
No, as it was one of his earliest roles. The movie is set in a pound where dogs discuss their past lives and the circumstances that led them to end up in the pound.
That's a fascinating premise, actually. That's interesting. Now
it is. I like it.
1970. So, gosh, like
Pound.
Before I was even born. I will go watch Pound by his father. That's cool.
Yeah, isn't that
so
cool?
Movie that was terrible that I told you about, Dog Man or whatever.
Yeah,
there's a lot of dogs. It's a dog movie as well, like about dogs in a place. Except problem is dogs can't talk to each other about their past in that movie. And maybe if they had, it would have been better.
If they had, it would have been good. All right, so the last one. All right, last one. We're gonna call it quits. I got plenty for you, bro. We're gonna keep this going because. Like I said, I made this for you. Oh,
okay.
Woo, I love it.
All right, here we go.
Scarlett, and I'm gonna say your last name with a y. So we're gonna go Scarlett Johansson, right? We're gonna go Johansson on that. First feature film, was it A, North, B, Manny and Lowe, C, The Horse Whisperer, or D, Lost in Translation?
Lost in Translation is a great movie. And I think the world fell in love with her in that movie. Maybe before, but maybe not the entire world. She just went to another place of stardom. I felt like after Lost in Translation with Bill Murray. Also, she's one of those people who is almost like a Rachel McAdams, where she's so endearing and charismatic in front of camera. You almost don't want to meet them in person because you're afraid that they won't be.
That the persona will not be there. Yeah. Yep.
You're afraid they'll actually be terrible, and like, oh God, that, so there's that fear. Like Reese Witherspoon might fall into that group as well. Like, oh no, like what if I met her and she was a total B to me, right?
Oh, definitely. That would destroy Hello Sunshine.
It would
right?
destroy
like that
a
would
lot
be the
of
opposite.
things for you. So she's just one of those people. Like, oh, I don't necessarily want to. I like her. Look, back to the razor. I like her from afar. And by the way, just as a quick throwback to our girl Elizabeth Donaldson, influencer extraordinaire. I want to add.
Hey, you should.
I want to add. I want to add to the razor, which is exactly. We'll work on it. We'll get the producers on it right away. Because I know her, I would buy something that I know she uses for her job versus buy something she was promoting online. Does that make sense? So instead of buying this pair of whatever or sneakers or shampoo or whatever, I would buy what she uses for editing.
You would buy from her. You wouldn't buy from her persona.
Right. Like if she said, this, like if I said to her, hey, what are you using to edit your stuff? Oh, I use this. This is how I use it. And I use these plugins or I use this tool. I'd be like, done.
On it.
In a heartbeat.
Yep.
Right. Like that's what I mean. Like, I'd buy, great way to put it.
Yeah. I got
buy from her, not from her persona. The closer you are to an influencer, the more you're willing to buy from the person and not the persona.
Yep.
Okay.
There you go.
Anyway.
All right.
Scarlett
So we had
Johansson.
A, North, B, Manny and Low,
Mhm.
C, The Horse Whisperer, or D, Lost in Translation.
This truly is the most difficult one because I've only seen 2 of the 4 movies in this list. And I think in the previous list I'd seen 3 of the 4 each time. And so this is truly a coin flip answer.
Do it.
And I'm going to go with the only one other one I'd seen, which is The Horse Whisperer.
Okay. And my friend, the answer
But I think that's
is
wrong.
North.
Yeah, I knew it. I felt
all
like
right. So now just give me the decade. Again, I'm giving you these opportunities to get the points back.
I mean, it has to be 90s, right? North has to be 80s or 90s, right?
We got to pick one.
Well, the problem is now she didn't have to star in it. She just has to appear in it. She could have been 3 years old. She could have been Drew Barrymore in Starman.
She could have been. So you got to give it to me. What is it? What do you think?
No, that's a throwback. People are like, Starman. Yeah, go look it up. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's an okay
flats and a Cadillac.
You know what? I am going to stick with the 90s.
And I think that was a good choice because North is a comedy drama film directed by Rob Reiner, released in 1994.
Boom.
Scarlett Johansson appears in a supporting role in this film, which follows the adventure of a young boy named North, played by Elijah Wood. As he embarks on a journey to find new parents.
Then that's a dude
after
that you can meet in
becoming-
person. And he's actually a cool dude and will actually help you out and will actually talk to you. Yeah. Shout out to Elijah Wood. Go ahead.
I like that. I like the shout outs. All right, let's go back. So as he embarks on a journey to find new parents after becoming disillusioned with his own. The film is called North, released in 1994.
Love it, man. Okay. There you go.
It's for you, bro. I created a game just for you, man.
Because say the name of the game again.
So we're going to we can call it First Feature Film. That's it. Make it real simple. First feature film.
Right, new game.
You knocked it out. Good job.
We will play. We will play
decades,
first feature film again.
Yes,
affectionately called.
It's fun for me.
And
or as Mike would say it. Dang it. Oh, okay. And then one last thing before we shut it down.
Yeah.
We were talking about Seinfeld.
Yeah.
And I knew
movies are over.
I knew you were going to talk about Seinfeld, and you know me, I can't help myself.
Yeah.
I can't. So I might have done something and got you a little something.
The soup Nazi.
Yes.
Okay, so for those just listening, Nick is holding up a doll, a bobblehead. I don't even know if this head bobbles, but it's a doll. It's a Seinfeld pop.
See, it's a Funko Pop.
Funko Pop doll of the soup Nazi.
Yep.
No soup for you. And
that's right.
Thank you very much. And I don't know if people can actually see it in my background, but if you look at the background near where my keyboard is, right above the keyboard and in front of the monitor is Jerry and George having an infinite conversation right behind me. One day we'll have to do like a studio tour of this room and just go over all the little things that are in it, because there are so many little Easter eggs all over this space. So,
and as you can see, I make a habit of dropping those Easter eggs wherever and whenever I can. So this will be coming to a mailbox near you in the not too distant future.
Yeah, and there's like little things I don't think you can't even see, sort of, it's kind of off camera. So maybe one day I'll change the angle in which I sit in here and people will see sort of what the other side of the studio looks like. But no, this is good. Like okay. Any final thoughts? Any bulletin board items, billboard items you want to talk about before we jump off? This has been
no, man. I think this is good, dude. This is super fun. Wanted to end it on just a quick fun note, and you did exactly what I thought you were going to do. Kind of expound upon even your experience with these films and with these actors. And I wanted to also offer an opportunity for our listeners to explore these films. Right? There's a lot of good stuff out there that these folks have probably never seen, but it could be really cool to see actors that you know and love in their first feature film? Like, what were they doing then? What was their performance like? How
Yeah.
old were they? How long have they been in this game? Right? You know them now for what they're doing and all the accolades that they're receiving, but they came from somewhere.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the important things here is that, they've been doing this for a long time. And some of them started as children, in the game,
Yeah.
and they've kept it up. I mean, imagine that longevity as well. It's an amazing thing in an industry that is as difficult as this. So I'll leave it at that.
No, I love that. And producer Jada, copy and paste some of these question and answers somewhere on some Word document or Pages document, somewhere we can grab them so we can or throw them in the Slack or something so that we can put them in show notes. That way people can go, we'll link out to them. People can just go watch these movies whenever they can per what you just said there, Nick. So I think that's really smart. Yeah. I don't have a whole lot of bulletin news except for we just have to thank everybody for the enormous support on YouTube. Our YouTube follows and subscribes have gone through the roof, by percentage at least, for sure.
Right.
And I don't want to be lame and talk about it, but it's just like I just want to thank everybody for the support and telling a friend and spread the word. We're going to keep making stuff that's true to film, true to us, and just do the best we can to support you, in your filmmaking journey, while continuing on our very own filmmaking journey and creative journey. So thank you. Speaking of which, short film that I made last year with Maki Dapp and a few other, the great Micah Sims, who's just on this podcast, Skakafis. We're going to release that soon on our channel. So look out for that. We'll put the link in the newsletter as well, which is at bonsai.film/subscribe. So do check out our newsletter along with all the other goodies we put in there. So look out for that coming soon. And we should have maybe one or two more short film surprises coming up. Probably hopefully in the next 4 months, at least two.
Nice.
One is a oldie but goodie that was never released, and another one would be a brand new one. So stay tuned for sure around that. The way that, Nick, that you've been answering questions on Reddit, I've been hopping in these Facebook groups and answering a lot of questions just around everybody's number one concern is film distribution. So I think the next time we come on, we should talk about film distribution and why we have the strong opinions we have, and not even like talk down certain distributors, because I don't want to do that.
No, never that, man.
I mean, I don't mind doing it if it's deserved. There are people there in companies that deserve it, but I would rather still man it. And if you're not familiar with the concept of still manning, it's like, okay, let's say everything goes the way you say it's going to go, and everything goes the way the distributor says it's going to go. Let me tell you why it's still a bad idea to distribute to them.
Well, yeah. What's the outcome?
And what's the outcome, right? So I think we can do that for you. We've been there. We've walked that walk. So a lot of cool things on the horizon, for sure. So keep your ear to the ground.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned with everything that we have going on. No doubt. Apparel, got a lot of cool new t-shirts coming and hoodies coming very, very soon. The store is bonsai.film, and you can just click shop. And then we also have a partnership with Cotton Bureau. That shirt that you see Nick wearing, that Make It Atlanta, that nice red, it's soft, it looks great, man. You can pick that up yourself at Cotton Bureau, and then just search for it, the Make It podcast, and our shop will come right up. Great clothes, great hoodies, and
it's buttery.
It's buttery soft. Buttery soft
Yeah.
T-shirts. So go check out Cotton Bureau and our shop there at cottonbureau.com. If you're looking for our podcast, other places. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you want to find the audio version, you can just search for the Make It podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're listening to this and you want to check out what we're doing on YouTube, just go to YouTube and type the Make It podcast. For whatever reason, you do actually need to type the in there. It's really weird. But when you leave it out, you get like this sort of menagerie of returned videos of your search. But if you type it goes right to our page. So the Make It podcast on YouTube, and check us out there. Please support every 5-star review on Apple and Spotify, and every subscription on YouTube makes a difference. So please don't
subscribe,
don't think it's
share.
a little thing.
Yeah,
it's a big thing. And last but not least, if you want to reach out to me or to Nick, you can do that in a variety of ways, but I'll just make it simple. You can reach out to us on social at _MakeItPodcast. You can email at nick@bonsai.film, and you can reach out to me directly on X, on the X platform at Flame in Your Heart, or just search for Chris Barkley, and I will come right up. We answer 100% of those questions, queries, and really comments, anything you want to say. It could be critiques, it could be bigging us up, whatever you want to do. But we respond to all of it. So again, super appreciate all the support. This is so much fun. I love doing this. And with that, Nick, can you please leave us with the credo?
Yep, of course. And the folks who are just listening, you got to jump on YouTube, because you just got to be part of the joy. The laughter, the joy, of course, the soup Nazi. You can't see him on our podcast. So come over here, join us on YouTube as well. But with that, I got to say to our friends, our family, our followers, our fans out there, be better, be creative, be engaged.
And thank you for listening, Nick. Talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. We'll do this again, man. We'll keep it up.
All right. Peace.
All right, brother.
Thank you, producer Jada.